Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Ann Ganguza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
So, Gabby, guess what? Guess what I'm wearing in the booth?
Oh, boy. This got me in trouble last time, so I don't know. Tell us, Ann, what are you wearing?
Can you hear this?
No, I hear nothing.
You know why, Gabby? Because
Why?
I have a VO Boss bracelet on.
Very
And it is
nice.
a piece of awesome jewelry that does not make noise. I
No
love
noise
it.
in the booth. That's spectacular.
I love it. And every time I look at my wrist, it says Beauty Brains Boss.
People love those bracelets. People stop me and they grab a hold of me. People that aren't even in voiceover, don't even know what voiceover is. They're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And it is. It's such a powerful message we have on these.
And you know what? I like to stack them, Gabby. We have them in so many colors. I think I lost count of the colors. They're not just solid colors either. There's solid colors, there's half and half, and then there's some that are kind of tie-dyed in there. Check out our Boss bracelets on the VO Boss website. Just go to VOBoss.com and click on the shop tab.
They're super inexpensive. They make awesome gifts for your voice actor buddies.
And the holidays are coming up, Gabby, so
Yeah,
they could make
it's
great
true.
gifts. So show your bossness and also help support the podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguza, along with my amazing, beautiful VO Boss bestie, Gabby Nistico. Hey, Gabby.
Hey.
We have a guest that I'm so excited. A good friend of mine, someone that I met, interestingly enough, on a webinar a few years ago. And I've been kind of tracking him ever since. He is an amazing voice talent, entrepreneur, and just amazing guy that I think is going to have so much valuable stuff to share with our listeners today. I'm super excited to welcome Tim Page to the podcast.
Hey. Yeah, I hope I have something valuable to share. I mean,
Oh, my goodness.
I can, rob an antique store and bring something valuable. I don't know.
You know, Tim, the weird place is that I met you in a webinar. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is that it was a webinar not about voiceover. It was about Facebook advertising. And you were hosting this webinar with Mari Smith. And I was just smitten with you from the get-go because I had never heard a better webinar host who was, I think, you sounded amazing. You were genuine, and you just at the right time brought up these amazing sell points. And I thought, wow, this guy is good.
Thank you.
I followed you from webinar to webinar. and then I also found out that you did voiceover, and I've watched your career catapult into the stratosphere. You also have done considerable amount of work with podcasting.
Yeah. It's a weird kind of juxtaposition of worlds. You know, the whole combination of marketing and voiceover and all these things in podcasting have all come together to create this weird career that I have now.
It sounds a lot like mine, I think, and Gabby's too, right? It's how we arrive at voiceover. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Sure. Well, so I was a professional touring musician for about 7 years. I was in a pop punk band. We did Warped Tour, and we were on TRL on MTV when that was still a thing. And had a lot of fun doing that, and it kind of came to an end. I wanted to have a family, and I was getting a little older. I was getting a lot more tired, and kind of jumped from career path to career path, always having something to do with people, always in some way entertaining. But I came to this this point in my life where I was working a job. I was making a ton of money. I hated everything about what I was doing. And I started listening to all these podcasts, back then it was Smart Passive Income with Pat Flynn and Entrepreneur on Fire, and these really great entrepreneurial podcasts learning about online marketing. And I was like, oh, this is really fun. Okay, I'm going to learn everything I can about this. And I dove in and I started my own podcast, which was so terrible that I have gone to great lengths to make sure you can't find it anywhere. And the best part is it was called The Awesome Podcast. And So I had done that, and I was doing the show, and we had like 5 listeners. No, there were some people listening, but one day I was like, all right, I have this normal podcast intro that everybody had at the time, which was like big high energy intro, and I was like, what if I made a trailer? I'm going to make a movie trailer intro, and I got in like this, and I tried to do a movie trailer voice, which I don't have a voice for these deep things, and I tried to do it. But weirdly enough, all these other podcasters started coming to me and going, oh, will you do that for me? And so I started just doing it for free, like doing all these intros for people. And then after a little while, I was like, there's money here. So, all right, it's taking time. I'm going to start charging for it. And I started charging a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then John from Entrepreneur on Fire asked me to do his intro, which was a big thing for me. And I told him my price. And greatest piece of advice ever, he was like, okay, triple it, and that's what I'm paying.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, will anybody ever pay that? He was like, yep, here you go. Here's the money. Did it. Business exploded. Took off. I've now, at this point, done well over 1,200 podcast intros.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So there's a sub-story here that I have to share because I think this is so funny. I don't know if it's valuable, but it's interesting. While I was doing this, while I was doing all these intros, I would walk around the house, and we love The Walking Dead, and we would watch it, and everybody knows that voice, Rick Wasserman, and he, AMC's The Walking Dead. And I'd walk around the house doing that, and I'd be like, I'm going to make some dinner, The Walking Dead. And I was like, you know what? This guy, whoever does that, that's his job. I wonder if he works there or something, not knowing anything. So I Googled, I found his name, I found his email, and I emailed him. And I was like, hi, Rick, I want to do what you do. I'd love to be the voice of AMC. Can you tell me how to do that?
Wow.
Yeah, so he emails me back. He coaches me. He's great. He's obviously like, look, I'm booking my work. You book your work, and I'll help you do that. And that's kind of what started it all. But, all these years later, I still laugh about that because now we, run in a lot of the same circles. We know a lot of the same people, and Rick, I'm doing my work. It's just it was a weird path.
And you have, since you've done quite a few promos, and you have you're with Atlas, which is a great promo agency, and you're SAG-AFTRA. I mean, this is impressive for a guy who, I think, if I'm hearing this correctly, at one point you didn't even really know that what you were doing was a voiceover. Yeah,
I mean, I had heard the term, and I knew of all the lowball websites and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't know there was a difference between promo and commercial and explainer, and I didn't know any of that. Rick actually helped me a lot with that. And yeah, now promo is my biggest area, probably followed by podcast intros because it's still a huge part of my business. But yeah, it's been really cool and really weird from, I don't know, that was like 5 or 6 years ago. I didn't know anything about voiceover, and now I'm a full-time voice actor. So pretty fun.
Now, can I ask you, with the podcast intros, because it is such a unique genre, how do those contractually work? Are they retainer? Is it in perpetuity? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's a weird world, and I think it's one that luckily and unluckily is not that well understood by most of the industry, including agents, managers, etc. Because most of the podcasts, I probably could say 99.9% of podcasts are tiny little podcasts with just a few listeners, with people that are self-funding it that will probably never make any money from it. And some of them are doing it for fun. Some are trying to grow their business but won't actually make a dime from the podcast. So with that in mind, the podcast intro world, usually you're going to record something once, and that podcast is going to use it forever. And they're going to put it at the beginning of every episode of their show. And it's the way that you have to kind of look at it is sort of like an explainer video, where it's going to be on the internet. And yes, you can give terms, but it's tougher to do. So it is sort of an in perpetuity thing. But I will say most podcasts will at some point change the intro. They'll usually come back to you to change it because they've changed the topic or they've added a co-host or whatever. And they will come back for more. They will want you to do their outro. They'll want you to do, something in the middle where they're going to do an ad and they don't want to be the ones to, to voice it. The money is not amazing, but again, it's kind of, it's funny, here I am telling everybody about it, but it's kind of a really great secret niche. I mean, it's just, the work is out there, and it's also kind of weird because most podcasters don't want you to sound like a radio person, but they also don't want you to be conversational.
Yeah, right?
It's a weird mix between the two. It's more of like, if you were going to do a big radio read, this would be more like, this is the podcast where you're going to have a lot of fun. It's like up and for a lot of them, I'm really generalizing because there's a lot of different genres of podcasts. And yeah, they'll, for the most part, use it for a year if their podcast makes it that long. But the sad reality is most of the podcasts you intro won't be around all that long.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, the statistics about podcasting, because I think everybody that starts a podcast wants it to be 1 million downloads and running on forever. But it's a lot of work, and I don't think people really understand the scope of work when they start a podcast. But I can also imagine, though, Tim, that if you are the voice of a podcast that is very popular, that would also boost your voiceover business. Because I can only think that people would be listening to that podcast and say, "Oh, I love that voice at the beginning." Who is that? Have you found that it's gotten you work in voiceover as well, or?
Oh yeah. And I think, and there's room for negotiation as well. If you're going to voice a major show. The host is a celebrity, or it's going to be on NPR, something like that. There's absolutely room for negotiation. You can set terms, you can set usage, that kind of stuff. But yeah. I mean, I have found. I mean, look, that the Entrepreneur on Fire thing exploded my intro business. I mean, completely. And I've done other shows where that has led to. I mean, it led to my first audiobook, which I will probably never do again. I'm
right there with you.
Yeah,
I think Gabby too.
and it's also I have had people hire me for their commercials from one particular podcast has led to a bunch of kind of regional commercial work for me. They just liked how I had a kind of delivery that had a little bit of swagger, but was also like, I'm a big nerd, so it's a weird nerdy swagger. So I don't know, they just liked it, and it led to more work.
Like one of the things that I really love about your style in just about everything you do is you're just such a nice guy that really is very authentic. And I think that probably serves you very well. I feel that you're not just doing voiceover, although that's probably your full-time gig now, but you have all these kind of side hustles that are going on, which are helping to bring you predictable income, which I think is probably something pretty important for any of us that do full-time voiceover to be able to pay the bills at the end of the month. Yeah,
I mean, we're entrepreneurs, and so I think you have to be ready to seize an opportunity as it comes. If it's something that you feel you can pour a little bit of yourself into. Now, there's a point where, if you're in certain genres of VO and you're pretty successful, there's probably not a lot of time for that stuff. I am not at that point in my voiceover career. I'm doing really well, but yeah, there's time for other stuff as it comes up. And so one of the things that I found an area of need is in podcasting. A lot of podcasters don't know how to get their listeners to do stuff. They don't know how to get them to go join their email list or whatever, right? Whatever the thing is they want them to do. And so I created this little 19-page thing where I worked together with one of my favorite copywriters, and we wrote a bunch of scripts that people could use in their podcast to get their listeners to do stuff. And I sell it for $100. And everybody that's ever bought it, not everybody, but a lot of people that buy it will write me back and say, "Oh my gosh, people are actually subscribing." I found that was an area. I had a skill in it, and I said, look, this doesn't take a lot of time for me to do. I can set it up and I can promote it. Another thing I just recently, obviously, Ann, this, I started creating some podcast intro demos for people that are on my roster for my business that makes the podcast intros. And as a result, a bunch of people came to me and said, "Hey, will you do that for me?" Well, they're not on my roster, and I'm not going to do that for free. So So I started offering it, and it's kind of been a thing now. So it's really cool. Yeah.
That's great. And so, yeah, you even have a roster of people for your podcast intros, which is great. So it went from just you to a roster. I just love how you've been able to just build and grow all of these businesses. I mean, talk about a boss, entrepreneur boss.
Just seize the opportunities, It's so important. And I think I can only speak to my own experience, I guess, but I think there's this like ego thing for a lot of us when we start to just fall in love with VO. This happened to me. I fell so in love with VO that I was like, I just don't want to do anything but VO for my work. And so it's like, I think a lot of the times if we have another job or we have another business or we do other stuff, we think, well, I'm not a full-time VO person. Like we beat ourselves up over this weird thing that really doesn't matter. Who cares if we do other stuff? I supported myself for a long, long time while I was doing voiceover on the side, whatever. But I think it's important to put that aside and just say, you know what? If I'm doing other stuff, it's just continuing to support it. It's just making it so that that next coaching lesson that I do, I can pay for, and maybe I don't have to take it out of my VO money, or maybe I can take it out of my VO money, and then that other stuff pays all the other bills. There are niches like that everywhere. You just have to look in weird places.
But that's it. It's why I love this industry, because the technology is always creating and propelling these new opportunities, and we just have to be aware. We have to be smart and see it. And man, it's like every day there's these new genres, new ways to make a name for yourself. I just love it. Kudos. My God, you're doing it, dude.
I told you I was smitten for a reason.
I see this. I think I'm right there with you now. Oh my goodness.
And I think part of it too for me, at least, is that for a while I just wanted the prestige jobs. I wanted the promo gigs that I could post and my whole family would be like, "Oh, look at you!" I wanted to post when I got Jimmy Kimmel, and that's all I wanted. You get really excited about that. But this, again, it's a business, and the prestige jobs are awesome, and you can do them, and you can audition for them, and if you got a great agent, great, keep going and do that. But also the rest of the days, then go do that other stuff. And I'm not going to turn down a webinar that pays $4,000 for an hour of my time because I'm like, well, my family's not going to care about that. Come on. We have a business. Let's run this business and do this stuff. And sometimes it's boring. Yeah, sure. I mean, we've all done those medical narrations, and yet I'm weirdly enjoy doing them.
I love medical narration.
It's so weird. We're so weird.
I know. We are.
but that's the kind of stuff that you can grow a big money business from. Like in my case, I used to be like, oh, this would change everything. This would, this is a 6-figure blah, 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 blah. Well, instead, I can be like, well, I'm making 6 figures outside of promo. So now the promo or the commercial or the trailer or the animation or whatever it is that you are really, really excited about, then that can be something you can do with peace. And I bet you'll do better when you're making a bunch of money on the other stuff, and that's just the stuff you do just because you love it.
You mentioned earlier about coaching. I'd like your input. I'd like to know who some of your favorite coaches are in voiceover, who you've worked with.
I haven't done the math in about a year and a half, but a year and a half ago I had spent over $50,000 in coaching.
Wow.
And worth every penny. Some of the coaches,
but it's okay
great.
Because he was making the 6 figures already, right?
Yes,
and he could reinvest it in that coaching.
Yes, and that was over the course of years. When people hear that, they're like, well, I can't do that. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. I did that because I really wanted to do one particular genre, and I would do anything to do it. And that's what I did. I reinvested every penny I made in voiceover for the first several years because I really, really, really wanted to do promo. And everybody told me I couldn't. So I was like, all right, going to prove you wrong. So some of my favorite coaches, I have so many, and if I don't name somebody, it's not, and you hear this, it's not because you're not one of my favorite coaches. It's just I literally coach with a lot of people. So David Lyerly, who's not coaching anymore, was instrumental in helping my career. He now does video games for Riot. He's a video game voiceover director. Harry Dunn for promo. He has been my longest running coach, I think 3-something years. Helped me land my first promo gig, helped me get signed with Atlas. Mary Lynn Wisner for commercials, very, very helpful. Dave Walsh for promo and a bunch of stuff. I've started working with Maurice Tobias. I've worked with J. Michael Collins, and has helped me. It's probably 20, 30 coaches.
Well, I think there's something to be said for getting coaching from multiple coaches and not putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. I think that you gain valuable insight from everyone.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And not in a formal setting, but my fellow voice actors, spending time with them, talking to them, and discussing the stuff that we're trying, I found I get a lot out of that as well. Now, again, you got to be careful, and it's got to be people that are booking the kind of work that you want to book. But coaches, I think, for the most part, if you do your research and you ask some folks that are doing the kind of work you want to do, who have they coached with, and they tell you, chances are those coaches are pretty good.
How can folks get in touch with you?
Sure. So my website is thevoiceoftimpage.com, and it's Paige. That is being redone right now for the first time, having somebody else do it. So that's coming, and then you can reach out to me. My email is tim@thevoiceoftimpage.com.
Tim, it has been amazing to have you on the show. Thank you so much. I just want to go back and listen to it right now because everything you've said is just a wonderful nugget of wisdom there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your nuggets. We appreciate that.
I'm always glad to give my nuggets.
Okay, guys, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsor, who we just love, IPDTL. Check out IPDTL.com.
And for all things Boss, of course, please visit our website, voboss.com. And you've also got all the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. There's so many ways to get it. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Alexa, you name it.
Have a great week, guys. See you next week.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your hosts, Ann Ganguza and Gabby Nisterko. All rights reserved. Ann Ganguza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.